webinar, I want to clear away the confusion and leave you with a simple set of just 3 steps you can take to start making real money with offline marketing. You know, I was in San Antonio, which is in Texas, for those of you who are not in the United States. And I was doing some training last weekend for a friend of mine, Cliff Kerrigan. Some of you probably know that name. He owns a company out there called Locustware Software, and doing some training for him. And, you know, people were, it was a weekend event. It was wonderful. And, you know, a lot of people there, a lot of people coming up to me and asking me questions, as you can imagine, which I was more than happy to answer. But one thing that really struck me, and this strikes me, I don't get to do one-on-one coaching anymore. I wish that I could. I love doing it, but I'm just too doggone busy to do that. But you know, one thing that really strikes me when I'm talking to people, when I'm in a situation like that, is, and I know I do this too. Okay, I do this too. So we all tend to just make this stuff just way more complex than it really is. Part of that's because you guys, a lot of you guys are coming to this world through an interest in technology, through an interest in the internet. You know, a lot of people come to this thing through, you know, you get into online marketing, you know, just what I call strict online marketing first, and you know, the whole SEO, ranking websites, video marketing type thing. This is how I got into this, what, over 10 years ago now. Excuse me. And you know, we tend to have heads full of cool technical stuff, right? I mean, that was part of the attraction, but that approach will not work for offline marketing. That approach really doesn't work for business in general, oddly enough, but that absolutely will not work for offline marketing. So really, what my goal is to, you know, my goal is always in creating products, creating software, when I'm talking to people and helping them out, my goal is always just to cut through the mustard. Let's get rid of the stuff that really doesn't matter, which is 97% of what anybody's doing at any given time doesn't matter. Let's get rid of the stuff that doesn't matter, and let's keep the stuff that does matter, and then focus on that. I wished I was at lunch today and thought, darn it, I should have had a picture of this. But an analogy that I've used for years is this. You know, if you're going to chop down a tree, let's say you went to the hardware store and you bought a big mallet, okay, one with a long handle, like one that you would use to drive a stake into the ground, and you bought a brand new axe. So the axe is real sharp, the mallet's brand new, both of them have equally long handles, for those of you who understand enough physics to understand about, you know, the importance of the weight of the thing at the end of the handle. And if you walk up to the tree with the mallet and start whacking on it with all your might, I mean, you can do this until the cows come home, which is Southern, for a really, really, really long time, and nothing's going to happen except you're just going to dent the tree a little bit. But if you did that same thing with, unless you're Thor, no, Matthew, we're not superheroes. If you did that same thing with the axe, you're going to fell the tree, right? So what is the difference? The amount of work you're doing is the same. It's just that I mean, if you think about it, and this is an analogy, it's not perfect, but if you think about it, where the work is applied, okay? So the mallet hits the tree with the face of the mallet, which is probably about as big as your fist. And the axe hits the tree with something that's about the size, you know, I mean, at the end of the blade, it's about the size of a piece of paper. And so you have all that force on a much smaller place. That's my point. So if you can get rid of the dead wood, get rid of the stuff that doesn't matter, ignore my dog. My wife just walked into the door, or is trying to walk into the door, and the dog's going nuts. But if you can strip away the stuff that doesn't matter and then spend all of your time building your business just on the stuff that does matter. Somebody's dogs are talking to my dog. Rather, my dog's talking to your dog. My dog can't hear your dog. But anyway, if you strip away the stuff that doesn't matter, then you're going to find that it's so much easier to build your business. And actually, that's really what I'm all about, both in my own businesses and in helping people like you with your business. In case there's somebody on here, I saw several names of people that I'm not familiar with. You're not my good old standby crew. I'm going to briefly introduce myself. There's my picture, and that's who I am. And just very briefly, just in case somebody missed this on the sales letter, in 2010, I kissed my last job goodbye and launched a very successful business as an offline consultant. A year later, I started teaching other people how to do the same thing. And this is God's honest truth. I've literally helped thousands of people learn to make real money online. Even if, I'd say it's really especially if, because this is like my forte, even if they have virtually no sales or technical skills. Again, it's not that hard, except a lot of people do, spend time doing stuff that really doesn't matter, okay? So what does it take to create a business? This is going to seem a little abstract. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but I really want you to understand this, because if you can understand this, then you understand why you're doing what you're doing. You're also going to be able to see where you're screwing up and why your business isn't working as well as it could, or why it's not working at all. So, number one, there should be an S there for my English grammarians. It takes a lot of people with a need, itch, desire, who are willing to pay for something that addresses that need, itch, desire. Okay, and we loosely call that a market. So number one, you have to have a bunch of folks willing to buy stuff from you. I mean, think about that. And just take it out of the internet marketing world. People who have asthma and need inhalers. Okay, those are, and there's millions of them. Those are people with a need. And what do? They buy an inhaler. There are businesses that create inhalers. Pharmaceutical companies. They're businesses that create an inhaler, and they buy that inhaler. All right. I ate lunch like maybe an hour or two ago, and so I had a need. I was hungry, and so I get in my car. I go down to this little burrito place that I like to go to, and I got a burrito bowl. Okay, so I had a need, and I was willing to pay. Now, there are people with needs for things, but they're not willing to pay. Okay, so and I was willing to pay money for, to satisfy that need. Now, that may seem utterly simplistic, but I guarantee you, and I go back to what I was doing this weekend, I guarantee you there's a whole world of people who don't understand how that applies to what they're doing. That would be all the people who are interested in just bring that into the internet marketing world. That would be all the people who they're interested in something. They can drive traffic to something. They think, oh, here's a good one that applies to you guys. All of these cool new whiz-bang things that you think businesses should be doing with cool new things about Facebook Live or something like that your average business owner would rather barf up a brick than do. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, maybe that's a cool thing to do. Maybe it really would help. But if you don't have a bunch of people who are already, not without you educating them, already thinking, God, I need that. If you don't have that, you're screwed. Okay. And I talked to a bunch of folks this weekend who were trying to essentially sell something to someone who was sell something to a group who just absolutely were not going to understand it. Maybe ever, I don't know, but at least they weren't going to understand it today. So, but if you can identify, well, that first one we loosely, I hate this word, by the way, but that first one we loosely call a niche. I call it a market, and neither one of those words is actually accurate. But if you have that market, okay, business owners who need help with stuff, and we're going to get into a practical application about this in a minute, but if you have that identified, then you have to have a product or service that addresses that need, itch, desire. Okay, so if the business owner is sitting there and thinking, I need more, fill in the blank, that's pretty simple with businesses, by the way, because that virtually always ends up being I need more revenue, which virtually, and I think I'm jumping a slide or two ahead. So if I repeat myself, I'm just excited. But I need more revenue, I need more sales, right? Excuse me, I'm still drinking my tea from lunch. Then if you've got a product or service that addresses that need, specifically in the way that the business and your potential client is already thinking about it, okay, if you got a product or service that addresses that need, itch, desire, you need that. So you need a bunch of people who need something, and then you need a thing that's going to satisfy that need, itch, desire. And here's the one that even if you get 1 and 2, I see a lot of people, and I literally talked to a ton of folks this weekend who had 1 and 2 kind of sort of in place and just totally bombing on 3. This little paradigm here isn't something I made up yesterday, by the way. This is how my brain has thought about this for years. So it takes a method of getting that product or service in front of those who might want it and are willing to pay for it. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to point with my mouse here. So you need a whole ton of people who need something, right? You need to identify that. You need a product that and are willing to pay for it. You need a product that addresses that need, but then you've got to have the skills, the technology, the whatever to put those two things together, right? Now, I guarantee you, I gave a great example. There are businesses right now that need financing of $100 million or more. I mean, literally. There are businesses right now that need financing of $100 million or more. And there are companies out there, like Wall Street type companies who are willing to do that. They're willing to, and it's obviously a very complex process, but they're willing to put together that money and get it to the company that needs it, right? And then there are people out there called investment bankers. Those are the people with the skills and the education and also working for the businesses that, working for those investment banks. Those are the people with the skills to do that. But if my personal living depended on me doing one thing, which is finding a global corporation that needed financing of $100 million or more, and then finding a source or sources for that, and then putting those two things together, if my living depended on that, I would starve. Because why? I don't have the skills. I don't even have the technology. I don't even have the understanding. Y'all see what I'm talking about here? Let me get a yes or no here, because this is central to moving on. Because a lot of the reason that people stumble with this stuff is because they don't really understand what they're doing. Okay, and they don't really understand why they're doing it. And so what happens is, for you guys, you just go out and buy another thing, buy another WSO, for those of you who are old enough to remember what that means. I mean, that's been a while back, right? But buy another info product or training or whatever. And I'm all for buying info products and training. I get a lot of training for myself. But, none of that stuff is going to help you until you get these 3 things in line, right? So let's continue on this vein. So how does this affect us, specifically you? What is the takeaway? Okay, so in other words, let's simplify this. Karen, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But let's simplify it and just bring it down to brass tacks. So you need potential clients who have that need, itch, desire, and are willing to pay for something that addresses it. Okay, so you need this, and you need a service that addresses that need, itch, desire. And this is elementary now. You have to have a method, including the skills. In offline marketing, the skills, that word skills should be really underlined, highlighted, and just gold starred to put number 2 in front of number 1 in such a way that a sale's made. Because if you can't put those two together, number 2 and number 1 together, you're not making any money. Kind of like me and the investment banking idea. So what about it? What about potential clients that have a need, itch, desire? Well, that actually turns out to be pretty easy. That's the good news, is that there's Millions upon millions of those. There are over, I don't know, I mean, there's over 1 million businesses in the United States alone, probably more. I've forgotten the number. God, I wish I could remember the number. There are tens upon tens. I think it's over 100,000 businesses are created in the United States every year alone. Alone, okay? So there's plenty. There's plenty, right? So in terms of need, itch, desire, what's the one thing that most, not all, every once in a blue moon, I run into a business that's usually an old established business, and they're just kind of maxed out, and they're what I call fat and happy, right? You know, they're fine, but that's really rare. But businesses, for the most part, all need more revenue and fewer expenses. Now, in practice, this often boils down to this: they need more sales. Businesses just flat out need more sales. Well, to get sales, somebody answer the question. To make a sale, what do you have to have that precedes that? Put on your kindergarten, pretend you're in kindergarten, because that's pretty much where my brain lives. Yeah, you need leads. Now, a lead is, God, Matthew said leads, Matthew Noonan, thank you. This is another word that will, George, excellent, more valid, prospects, leads. The word lead is another word that will just send me into almost a fit now, because we've gotten into a place where, Beth, amen, we've gotten into a place where on sales letters, they call emails leads. Okay, lead is not an email. Okay, an email is just an email. It may go nowhere. Who cares, right? But I'm talking about somebody, a human being behind that lead who actually probably could potentially be interested in more sales. Okay, so that's what we're looking down for. Excuse me, that's what we're looking for. If you can do anything that creates leads that lead to more sales for a business, you're golden. I mean, that really is fundamentally what you're selling in offline marketing. Okay. Nobody gives a rat's rear, you know what, about technology, really. I mean, except for geeky people, but they're not the salespeople, right? Nobody cares about this. You know, one way I worked my way through college was I worked as a programmer for IBM, and it was in a very large complex here in Atlanta. There were like 4 buildings all together, and there must have been hundreds of people that worked there. And I was part of a group of programmers that were sort of assigned to a marketing group. And what would happen is the salespeople, who of all the groups of people you know, I mean, as a group in a business, the salespeople are the ones who are making the lion's share of the income. We're talking about, I'm not talking about the vice presidents and the CEO and all that, but just talking about your average everyday people. The salespeople are making all the money. But basically what would happen is the salespeople would come see me and, you know, a couple other people that did what we did, and they would ask us really technical questions. Now, here I was in college, going to Georgia Tech and working there, and God knows how little money I made. I mean, it was a great job. I thought it was really cool. But and here are these guys, and men and women. I mean, so this would be back in the 80s, and men and plenty of women who were probably making really, really good incomes, coming and asking little old me cool stuff, right? But I mean, when you look at it from a business point of view, who was making the money? It surely was not me. Okay. The reason they were making the money and I wasn't because they were working full-time and I was working part-time. It was because they were the ones with the sales skills, okay, and not me. So this is the deal. Businesses need more revenue, they need more sales, and if you can do anything that leads to getting them this, then you're golden. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So I see so many people come into offline marketing with the idea that, oh, everybody's going to fall all over themselves to buy this fill in the blank technical thingamabob. No, it doesn't work that way. I mean, to sell something to a business, the business has to understand, or the person in the business making the decision has to understand that this leads to more sales, by and large. Otherwise, why would they buy it? Now, yes, I know they buy toilet paper for the toilet. I got that. I just thought of that stupid example that's contrary to what I'm saying. Or they buy flowers for the whatever. I don't know. I mean, there are little things like that, but in general, the way the business works, right? Their reason for being is to make something and sell it and to make more sales. And if you can enter into that process, that's right where you need to be. So any marketing that generates real leads, to my mind, is the best product to sell. And that really covers virtually everything you're selling when you think about it. Again, because why should a business buy something if it doesn't lead to more sales? So uh, again, the cool technical things. Why should a business buy a cool technical thing unless it leads to more sales? I mean, do they need more little cool technical baubles in their world? Probably not. They need more sales, right? Yeah, it probably isn't, Matthew. They need more sales. So if you can learn to think, well, okay, so I got two people. I don't know if you're agreeing or disagreeing. Either one's just fine. I don't necessarily always know what I'm talking about, but I think I do. So it's okay. Ake says save time, and Rick says increase productivity. Save time, why? And increase productivity to do what? Say, it's always at the end of the day to make more sales. To make more sales, right? Because if it doesn't boil down to that, it's, and again, there are some things like you do have to have an accountant sit around and do taxes because that's forced on you, right? So I mean, so that may be a little bit of a counterexample. But in general, the stuff you're selling, marketing stuff, is all about making more sales. Okay. So that's why everything that you sell should be gift wrapped in the idea that, Mr. and Ms. Business Person, this is going to make you more sales. If you can communicate that, then you are communicating and talking in language that your prospect will absolutely understand. So, what would be a good service that addresses that? Yeah, leads. That leads naturally into the product that we're talking about, right? Leads naturally into what we're talking about here with LinkedIn Consulting Empire. Like I said in the previous slide, any marketing service or product that will generate real leads is, to my mind, the best product to sell. Otherwise, why does somebody need that, right? And the skills. See, this is where we've got a bit of a wobble usually. Skills to put number 2 in front of number 1. And like I said in the slide, this is where it gets really interesting with people. And this is why I call it show and sell selling. All right. Now, I've been calling this that for years. I want you really to understand this, because it's kind of like the avenue that I come from on all these products that we create in our business and all the teaching that we do and webinars and stuff like that. And it's also where I come from in dealing with clients. The easiest way to sell a marketing service, because that's what we're talking about at the end of the day, we're here to learn to sell marketing services. The easiest way to sell a marketing service to businesses is through using that same marketing service. Now, I am not talking, let's get real clear on this. I'm talking about selling it to a new client, okay? If you have someone who is already a client and you have a good relationship with them, in other words, you're more of a trusted advisor instead of just an unknown salesperson, then sure, you can call them up, and you should be calling up your clients on a regular basis and chit-chatting with them, which boils down to selling them more stuff. If you're not doing that, you're screwing up bad. But I mean, But for a new client, if we're getting a new client, really the easiest way to sell a marketing service to a business is through using that same marketing service. So it's a lot easier. Let's just use several examples. It's a lot easier to sell video marketing to businesses if the business, it doesn't have to, they don't have to, and often they don't, but if they come to you through some video marketing that you did. There are people that handle video ads for businesses. I don't suggest anybody use that as a front-end product, by the way, for the reasons that I just stated for the last 10 minutes or so. But the people that sell video, video ad services, video ad management services to businesses, it's going to be a whole lot easier if a business gets to you, let's say, sees searches something, sees a video, clicks on something, looks at your video, goes to your landing page, fills out a thing, calls you, whatever. If they can go down that funnel to get to you, then it's just going to be so easy to turn that around and say, yeah, that's how we do it. Hey, I mean, I do this all the time. Like, say, Mr. and Ms. Business Owner, you know what happened? You know the reason why I'm sitting here on Zoom, or rarely in front of them physically anymore, but on Zoom talking to you? You remember exactly what happened? Would you tell me the steps that happened before you actually filled in the whatever, or called me or whatever? Just give me a brief review of what happened, and they'll say, well, first I saw this, did that, did that and that, and then there you were, right? And I said, cool. So that obviously works, right? Because here you and I are talking, and I'm doing what we call a sales presentation, right? Yes. See, the proof is in the pudding, right? It obviously works because they're there talking to you. And I say, that's what we're going to do for you. If you can get to that point, the selling process is very easy, guys. The selling process is very easy. So to my mind, I try to set it up like this. The easiest way to sell a marketing service to a business is through using that same marketing service. In our example, we're talking about a content marketing service. So let me give you a great example from our recent product, LinkedIn Consultant Empire. The perfect system. So LinkedIn Consultant Empire shows you a really easy way to use content marketing the right way on LinkedIn to get leads for your business. Now, let me just put a pin in right there because I want you guys to understand this. I've been doing content marketing online and on LinkedIn for a number of years now. And the whole reason that I thought it really important to come out with a new product, LinkedIn Consultant Empire, is because I had noticed that the content marketing that I was doing for myself and clients, that its effectiveness had just basically tumbled over a cliff. It was no longer working. And I was looking into that. It was quite vexing, talking to some people. I know a lot of other LinkedIn experts, just sort of looking around, talking to people and stuff like that. And the content marketing that I used to do was all what we call curated content. Curated content means having a little blurb about someone else's content with a link that goes out to that other person's website. So if you want an example of curated content, go to the Drudge Report or somewhere like that, or heck, just go check your Yahoo email or something. Your all of that stuff, those little pictures and teasers and all that stuff, that's essentially curated content, because a lot of that Matthew says the Huffington Post. Yes, a lot of that stuff really just links out to somewhere else, right? And it's a really, really good and important way of doing marketing. Okay, it's very good. It's just and it was working like gangbusters for 2 or 3 years on LinkedIn. It's just that it quit working. And as I started really checking into this and talking to people, but also especially looking at my accounts and clients' accounts and stuff like that, I noticed, much to my horror, that what was happening was LinkedIn was throttling down to the point of not showing curated content to the people on LinkedIn at all. In other words, the curated content that we were doing was, when normally it would get like 50 views or 60 views or 70 views, it was getting 0 views, right? And it seemed, I mean, nobody made any announcements about this. That's all fine, you know, nobody needs to tell me what's going on. But it seemed, you know, just, and again, this took a while for this picture to develop. It seemed to me that really what the deal is, LinkedIn pretty much doesn't really want people linking out of the LinkedIn ecosystem anymore. That makes total sense to me personally. If I were Microsoft, who owns LinkedIn, I wouldn't want that happening either. I mean, LinkedIn has over a half a billion users. Why in the hell do they need to send traffic to other places? See what I'm saying? So then I started making some experiments with some different kinds of content, both text content and if you get the upsell, I'll show you that before we leave. If you get the upsell to LinkedIn Consultant Empire, some content based on PowerPoints and content based on videos that did not link out anywhere, right? And suddenly all my views came back, and all the clients' views came back. Suddenly the stuff was getting seen again. The content was doing its trick. But here's where you have an issue, because if you want unique, the word unique probably should never be used in the internet marketing services. If you want real, you know, if you want content that doesn't link anywhere, okay, so it's not like chopped off with a link. Hey, if you want to read the rest of the article, click here. If you want content that's where the whole thing is right in front of you, then you have an issue of you have two issues, right? You have an issue of attribution. In other words, you don't want to steal somebody else's article just to publish it on your, you know, LinkedIn account. I mean, that's A, most importantly, unethical, and B, at some point, you're going to get a, you know, DMCA notice or something like that, and you know, you may even get sued. Okay, so you don't want to do that, right? And but then you're left with, well, how do I create content without just, you know, most people don't like to write, guys. I personally actually love to write. It's one of my core skills. Most people don't like to write, so how do you create content without having to kill yourself writing, or without having to spend a massive amount of money on creating content? So that's what informed the creation of this new LinkedIn product. So did that, started the new content marketing, went back to working like gangbusters. As a matter of fact, as you would imagine, this new kind of content actually works better than the curated content, and it makes total sense. I mean, you know, a person's going to get more excited about a blog post than they are about some little teaser and a status update, right? Because there were so many teasers and status updates. Hey, this is really, really cool. Look at this. I just read this article, link out to it, you know, and then you go over to some, you know, Inc. magazine or something, right? I mean, LinkedIn was getting flooded with that stuff. So somebody's going to get really, really a lot more gassed about content where they really, really feel that it's unique to that person who is publishing it. So that's what we're selling. That's what we're talking about selling here. This is a perfect system, content marketing. Why does content marketing work so well on LinkedIn? Well, A, there are 500 million users. And no, not all 500 million of those people see your content. Okay, it's all dependent on who you're connected to. But LinkedIn being a professional platform for business people, content, real content, the kind of content we're talking about now, brands you. I mean, people can read that. And I'm sitting here looking at Matthew Newnham, excuse me, Matthew, I've been talking a blue streak all day. Matthew Newnham's name, and I'm saying, so let's say Matthew publishes something on LinkedIn, and you know, he's got his profile, you know, all straightened out. You know, you can look at his profile, you know what he does for a living, all that stuff. And he publishes this new piece of content on LinkedIn, and people look at it. And just think of all the beautiful things that happen. It brands him, it positions him. People start to think, wow, this is a person who is good at fill in the blank, all right? I mean, this is the kind of marketing stuff that you want to happen, both for yourself and your clients. And so on LinkedIn, what are the next steps? Well, on LinkedIn, the next steps are take a look at Matthew's profile. If you publish content like I'm telling you through LinkedIn Consultant Empire, you're going to see that your profile views, which is an extremely important metric on LinkedIn, your profile views are going to soar. You can have more people reaching out to you to want to connect. That's going to do two things. One, it just brings that individual into your network, but also it exponentially expands the number of people that you're indirectly connected with, and that is a critical number in LinkedIn. So that's what content marketing does. It positions you, it's going to get more leads, and it's going to, over time, a fairly short amount of time, actually build your network so that it exponentially expands the number of people who see your content and exponentially expands this process. It's kind of like an avalanche. I mean, an avalanche, I'm guessing, starts with one snowflake that's a little out of order, right? And then suddenly, somewhere down the mountain, you've got, thousands of tons of snow crashing down on, other snow. So hopefully, I was going to say villages, but I thought that was kind of a grim picture. But that's the deal. That's how this works, and that's what that's all about. So the beautiful thing about this product is the sales process replicates itself. So this is why I teach you to set this up for yourself first, get it rolling, and then you can sell this same process to your clients, because all you have to do when you have somebody who's interested in talking about it is you really just have to remind them how they got to where they're talking to you, right? And once you remind them, well, how did we get to this point? We're sitting here on Zoom talking, and I say this virtually every sales presentation. How did we get to this point? Just take me through approximately the steps about how you got here, and you shut your mouth and let them talk, and they'll say, well, first I did this and did that, and it's cool. Would it be good if there were people out there who didn't know you, that you were talking to, who, did all that work by themselves to find you, and they were really interested in you, and the first time you ever talked to them, you were branded, you were positioned, they were really interested in you, they knew some about you, and they were really just generally favorably disposed toward you? Wouldn't it be cool that, if you got more leads like that? Oh yeah, I mean, that's, give me more of those, Lee. That's like shooting fish in a barrel. And well, that's what we're doing, okay? The whole reason that you went through this system was because I set up this process, and now you're here. So what I'm talking to you about is setting up the same process for you. That's very understandable for businesses. And when I say businesses, I mean a whole variety of things. I mean small to medium-sized businesses. It doesn't have to be medium-sized. I've done work for subsidiaries of some of the largest corporations in the world. But it also, and I want you to understand this, it also could be freelancers, public speakers, authors, authors, musicians. There's a whole world of people out there on LinkedIn who are interested in having more leads, because even though the business may not look like a standard business. I mean, let's say you're an author who's there's a new word, authorpreneur, right? So let's say you got an author who's an author / public speaker, right? / trainer, author / public speaker / trainer. There's a whole world of those people. I mean, it's a cool business to be in. And that kind of stuff is perfect for this, just perfect. Because, they wrote the book, they're out there, marketing the book, they're doing their public speaking things, which means they have to get on an airplane at 5 o'clock in the morning like I did. I don't do 5 o'clock in the morning very well, but they got to get on an airplane at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're busy, and those also generally tend to be a one-person business, or maybe a one-person plus an assistant business, right? And there's a world of people like that in all kinds of niches. It's not just business niches. There are people out there who are doing that specific gig for bodybuilding, for health and wellness. There are people in selling very specialized niche products to specialized businesses. All of those, I'm just trying to open your mind here. You have more potential business than you could ever get hold of. So basically, do your marketing, put the system in place, let these people come to you, and then replicate the same process for them. And it will work like gangbusters. Again, this makes selling very easy because when you get a lead yourself and you do a sales presentation, really all you need to do, I mean, you need to do a little more than that, but really all you need to do is point out the process by which the lead came to you and say, do you want me to set this up so that this happens for you like it happens for me? Yes, I do. Cool. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. Replicate the same process for your client. I have literally talked to Blue Streak. I don't even know how long I've been talking. Good God Almighty, I've been talking for 45 minutes nonstop. Any question? It's not 3 hours, Matthew. Any questions? We got some more to go. I'm not going to keep y'all forever. This is going to go about an hour, but I want to just like stop for a minute and say any questions. Ake, I would no less than $500 setup fee and $300 a month, no less than. Matthew, the frequency of the content, the best frequency I think about is once a week. Okay, I think it's once a week is good because Matthew, that's like the sweet spot in my mind between, you are going to have to do some stuff to create the content or get it created, right? And then you have to publish it. And that's kind of a sweet spot there. I mean, somebody asked me in support of once a day. God, I mean, once a day would freaking kill you, right? I mean, if you did do once a day, so maybe Gary Vaynerchuk could hire a team of people to crank out stuff once a day. Okay, so that's Gary Vaynerchuk. He's only worth like $150 million or something like that. But I'm talking about beginning to journeyman level freelancers, right? No, Matthew, I just send it to them. I don't. This is a fabulous question. Nobody's asked me this yet. Do you send them the content, tell them publish it, or do you log in and publish it all for them? I don't really want to log into their account too much myself, okay? Because LinkedIn is really weird about tracking IP addresses and where different people log into accounts from and stuff like that. Now, granted, having one person log in to the account from somewhere else, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that, setting off any alarms. But Matthew, you don't know what else your client is doing, right? You don't know what else your client is doing, and you don't know. They don't necessarily tell you everything, right? So I no, Matthew, I said that was the least. So I would be really careful about the logging in thing because frankly, if they got 2 or 3 people from different IP addresses, especially global IP addresses, logging in, they're going to shut the account down. Okay, I know this. I've seen it. It's happened to people that I know personally. All right, so they're going to shut that down. Yeah, because really, I mean, look at it from LinkedIn's point of view. They really, although it won't work for what we're talking about, they really want to push you up and make you end up with their highest paid monthly plan and use Sales Navigator. That's their goal, is they really want people just to sort of gravitate naturally to Sales Navigator. Except Sales Navigator can't do this. So, but that's their goal. That's what they want. So if they feel like, Sam, that's actually pretty funny, given current events. But if they feel like someone's sort of circumventing that general push toward getting people up, higher and higher and monthly payments for stuff, they're going to shut that down fast. Okay. I may have missed a comment or two. What do you tell them the setup fee covers? Setting up. I've literally never had anybody pick at me about that. Well, what exactly are you doing that? If somebody starts, so Matthew, and this may be where it may be one of those things where I've just got a different point of view from some people. I had a support ticket. I don't know if the person's on. If you are, I don't even remember your name. I apologize. I deal with hundreds of people a day sometimes. But, or my team does. But anyway, somebody asked me about something. I forgot what it was. It was, I think it was about my press release thing. Uh, were there cheaper places to, guys, for those of you that don't know me, I sold a fabulous product called Press Release Empire just a while back. I know it's mine, and I know we created it, but I think it's awesome. But anyway, somebody said, well, are there cheaper places to publish press releases besides the places? Thank you. Matthew says it is awesome. I really appreciate that. It comes from some badass software, by the way. But anyway, so they said, are there some cheaper places to publish press releases, right? And I said, yeah, but I don't use them. This was through my support ticket system. And I try to answer a lot of my support tickets myself because it's the only way that I can really get personally close to you guys to hear what you're saying, right? So I said, yeah, but I don't use those. And then they said, and they came back and they said, but why don't you use those? What if a business can't afford, the press release service that you were recommending? And I said, then they need to go work with somebody else and not me. And they got all bent out of shape. I think they sounded bent out of shape in their answer. Let me just say that. Of course, typing stuff and email and all that stuff, it's really hard to understand emotions. So let's just say they sounded slightly bent out of shape. And so they said, well, that's not fair. What if they're starting their business? And I said, great, I'm all for people starting businesses. They just don't get to work with me. So Matthew, this was kind of like your setup question, and what this had to do with the setup question is this: if somebody starts really nitpicking what they're getting for, so we get to the point in the sales presentation, the words out of my mouth, George, absolutely, the words out of my mouth. This is my trial close. Is, are you ready to get going on this today? That's what I've said for decades, really, and they may have a question or two, but let's say that they say, yeah, but, now I want to talk about that price a little bit. If I'm quoting them a fair price, which we do charge people fair prices because I've got this whole thing just down to a mindless science. It doesn't take me any time virtually to do it, and it doesn't take me a whole lot of money either. But if I'm quoting them a fair price and they start nitpicking at my price, then really, Matthew, what I'm thinking in the back of my head is they're broke. All right, that's really what I'm thinking, and that's fine. I understand. I'm not an asshole, okay? It's just that I'm a little more, let's say in terms of automobiles, okay? I mean, if you lined up automobiles from cheap crap all the way up to, God, I met a friend who had spent $170,000 for a car recently. That blows my mind. I couldn't go to the grocery store and I would obsess about it all while I'm in the grocery store. But yeah, if they're use the automobiles as an example. I'm somewhere Cadillac and above. Okay, that's really all I want to do. All right. I'm not in the Fords and I'm not in the Dodges and I'm not hating on those companies and I'm not in the Hondas. I'm really Cadillac and above. Okay, that's my market because I'm going to charge people. I'm very fair to them, but I'm going to charge people a nice amount of money, and I'm going to do a really good job, and they're going to get an amazing amount out of it. And if so Matthew, if someone starts nitpicking the price, then I'm thinking, oh well, wait a minute here. Somehow you slip through the cracks, and I'm now talking to somebody who's broke, right? So for me, I just say something like, I'll just come out real, just say is that's a pretty fair price. Can you not afford that? I'll just throw it back at them. And if they hem and haw, then I'll politely, always politely. I'm a good old Southern boy. I can't really be mean to people, but always politely, I'm going to end that call and move on and talk to somebody else. Okay, so I think that was an extremely long answer to that question. Let's see. Yeah, Charlene. So Charlene's giving us something to say when somebody says, why do you require a setup fee? if someone asks me the question, that I'm thinking I probably want to dump them myself. Okay, just asking, you know. My best clients over the years, when I told them the price, they nodded up and down and said, "How fast can you get this going?" All right. And when early on, when I had clients who wanted to ask me a whole ton of little stuff, they turned out to be pains in the butt. God bless them. I hope they're doing fine. I have no resentment toward them about that. It's just that, you know, if I'm saying this is what it is, and if they have a problem with it, then I'm pretty sure I don't need to be working with them. So Charlene, I actually do not for that reason explain much. Okay. I don't feel like I need to explain much. It's not because I got a big ego. I probably do anyway. But it's because I want to sort of weed out the people who are going to be a pain in the butt. I would rather lose a sale than have a client that I got to fire, because I will fire them just with impunity in a New York second. But it's not pretty. I don't get mad at people. I just, you know, I've done it many times. I just say, hey, this isn't working out. Thank you so much. I'm refunding your money. You know, have a great day. And, you know, people, you know, I mean, that can create some ill will, and I'd rather not get into that situation. Matthew's got a great question. How many connections should you have before you start pitching people on LinkedIn? Matthew has 193. Matthew, work on your connections until you get to 500. The reason being that from the outside, unless you're logged into your account as you, nobody can see whether you've got 500 or 5,000. I've got, God, I've lost track of them, 6,500, 6,300, something like that. But on my account, if you look at it, Matthew, my profile, it'll say 500 plus. Okay, so you want to get up to 500. Really, guys, you want to get up to about 2,000. It doesn't take that long to get up to about 2,000. Just because mathematically the numbers start working in your favor, but you can quit the initial connecting process at about 500. Richard, thank you so much. Richard said this so much more succinctly than I did. Old adage, if you have to ask how much, you likely can't afford it. Amen to that. Matthew, it really depends on you and your background and who you like to talk to. He's asking who are the best candidates for this. Uh, I find, you know, I've helped people set up LinkedIn businesses for years now, and I find that really that depends more on you than it depends on the market, because I can't think of many businesses who could not benefit from marketing on LinkedIn. Excuse me, if any. And um, so it really depends on your background, who you're. Okay, let me give you an example, Matthew. So I had a coaching client one time who was in the financial services himself, and so he working for somebody else, wanted to start a business and all that stuff. And so I said, well, who do you feel comfortable talking to? He said, well, I spent 20 years in financial services. I'm comfortable talking to CPAs, accountants, tax attorneys, financial people of all kinds. I said, well, in that case, that's a no-brainer. That's who you need to be talking to. So Matthew, it really more depends on you than the market. Richard, should I try connecting with other people in my general niche or people with businesses that could use my service, or both? Richard, it depends on where you are in your number of connections. If you're where Matthew is, which is just a few hundred connections, then connect with anybody. If you get up to about 2,000, then you'll start wanting to specializing your connections in whatever niche or niches that you want to that you want to focus on. George, can we say that's a wonderful question? Thank you so much. The one about press releases and LinkedIn. Can we save that one to last, because it's not off topic. I just want to get through the slides here. KL, yes, indeed I am recording, and takes me usually less time, but let's give me 24 hours, and we got Mother's Day tomorrow and all that stuff. So I may even be slower to get it up online, and I'll just mail it out to everybody. Matthew, I'm reading your comment, Matthew. Yeah, that gets back to what I was saying earlier, and the answer to the question is I don't know. Those people are going to have a need. I don't know if they're willing to pay for it. If you understand what I'm saying, and I'm not just announcing what your proposed niche is, because I think if it will work, it's going to be really, really cool given your background. Okay. So I would go into that and see, but if you start getting a lot of, man, this is really cool, we just don't have the budget for it type thing, then you'll have to do something else. Okay. Karen says, "What do you do if you're still not clear on what your niche is?" So, Karen, think about businesses that need leads, and they need them as individuals. So, uh, attorneys, um, well, financial. I mentioned financial services. Financial services. I really, really like uh, authorpreneurs, especially the speaker people. Okay, because they know out there that there are people like Randy Gage, if you've ever heard of Randy Gage, or people like that who are bringing down millions per year speaking. They know that, and they're not. And they're trying to build a platform. Okay. So if that's of interest to you, I think that's an excellent niche. But just think about the business and start thinking about how that, guys, when you're selling stuff, you always got to get your head into the head of the prospect. Okay, you got to learn to think like the prospect. Okay, so Karen, think about how they approach business, and then do a little online research. Find a few potential prospects to reach out to on LinkedIn, and then read their profiles carefully. Don't spend forever. Just read their profiles, click on their links, look at their website, check out their other social media, and see if you can kind of backwards engineer what kind of marketing they're doing, if they're doing any online marketing. Okay. And I would go at it that way. Susan, I said not less than $500 setup fee and $300 a month, and that's a low minimum. Yeah, Richard, I think you've hit me up in support. Hit me up in support so I can send you a link, and I'll send you a link to something. Alberto, absolutely, absolutely. This is definitely suitable for a LinkedIn newbie. Set up your account and make sure it's all set up, get your profile written and all that stuff. And it's just going to take a little longer, but it's what I was telling Matthew earlier about his connections. You're going to have to build your connections, and you want to really, before you do any marketing for this stuff, you want to focus on one thing, which is building your connections to over 500. And guys, you can do that fairly easily. You can connect to 30 or 40. Look, don't do it all in one day. So like Alberto, first day connect to about 5 people. Next day connect to about 5 people. Next day connect to about 10 people. And build it up, not really slowly, but build it up intelligently to where you're connecting 30, 40 people a day. And keep it at that level. And sooner than you think, you're going to be at 500, and then keep doing and then you can start the marketing process for this, but keep up the connections at the same time. I find that when your people that you're directly connected with, when it hits about 2,000, then the numbers kind of start working in your favor, and you get enough connections coming into you, especially guys, especially if you're doing the content marketing for yourself, right? Which this isn't going to work if you're not doing it, but if you're doing the content marketing for yourself, then people will be finding your content. They'll read some article, Alberto, that you posted, or if you bought the upsell and you do what I'm talking about in the upsell, they'll see that and it'll blow their minds, and they will connect with you and or send you a connect request, and that way you will get inbound connection requests and build your account faster. Robert, yeah, I'm going to walk everybody through the two upsells and not really to pitch something. I just want to make sure that you know what's there. Robert, if I forget that you asked that question, let me know. Okay, that's a great question. Ake wants to know if I'm a super connector. Yes, I would be defined as a super connector. A super connector is someone who's connected with a ton of folks. That would be me. Brian, do your prospects have to be connections? Yes, they do so that you can message them. Okay. Now you can in-mail them if they're indirect connections, but that gets expensive. Just so you can message them, they need to be connections. So you need to basically, it's a little bit of a process, not too much, but you basically need to work on building up your first tier. They're called direct or first tier connections. Building up your first tier connections, and then once you get your first tier connections, let's say to about 2,000 or so, you should have about 1 million indirect connections ish, more or less. Out of 1 million, you can pretty well through search find people in whatever niche you're interested in, unless it's extremely narrowly defined. And then you'll want to be connecting with them. And once they accept your connection request, then you can start marketing to them. Hang on, Brian. Great question. Let me get down there to it. I just saw it, but let me check out the ones. Randy says, Lee, should you open a group up where everybody can connect to each other? You mean for you as a marketing thing? I think that's a fine thing to do. I don't do that because honestly, I don't have the time to manage it. I find that groups both on Facebook and LinkedIn end up being just spam fests eventually, and I don't want to have to police it. But if you want to be in there, I'm just seriously busy, guys. I'm a little too busier than I want to be, frankly. But it's all good. It's a hell of a lot better than the alternative, right? So that's why I don't do groups for my own marketing. Okay. Brian, this is like the perfect question, guys. How do you build up your brand so people are confident in your integrity? Brian, here's the deal. That's a beautiful question because that's why I don't know if you bought LinkedIn Consultant Empire. If you did, let me know. Just say yes or no while I'm talking. Yes, you did, or no, you didn't. But that's what the deal is all about. See, Brian, we use content. You didn't. Okay, so that makes sense that you don't understand this. We use content in order to brand and position ourselves. Okay, so this is, God, I can't remember his name. God, it's a sales and industrial psychologist, Matthew Newnham. You would know who I'm talking about. Wrote the book Influence. He wrote the book Influence. It's a phenomenal book, but he's written a new book. It's called Pre-Selling, not Peter Drucker. Cialdini. Okay, Robert Cialdini. Thank you so much. So he's written a new book, which I've read. It's called Pre-Selling. Okay, and really what that means is that's extremely important, Brian. So really what this means is, imagine, Brian, that you're on LinkedIn and you have, we talked about marketing. Okay, you have a need. You're just, looking around. You're seeing some stuff in your news feed. Let's say you have a need for marketing services for your business, and you see some stuff in your news feed, and every now and then you see something really pretty on point from some particular person. Well, that's going to get your attention, right? And so you click on the link, you go to their profile, you read about them, you maybe reach out to them to connect with them. Okay, they accept your connect request. You start a little conversation, which is how y'all need to be selling this stuff. And I go into that in the training. But think about from the prospect's point of view, from your point of view. So now you're the prospect and the other person's a salesperson. I mean, you're already predisposed to like this other person for a whole ton of reasons. Brian, have you ever noticed how people love to be right? I've never had much success. I don't argue. I'm not an argumentative person, but I've never had, if I were, I still wouldn't have any success because nobody likes to be wrong, right? So think about this. Somebody does a little research and they find you. they have pre-selected you. How do they do that research? Through running into your content on LinkedIn, and they find you. And then they get on, let's say, a sales presentation with you. Now think about psychologically what's going on in their heads. They have already chosen you. So really what you have to do is just not screw that up. Does that make sense? That's what pre-selling is all about. Okay? And then, frankly, that's what inbound selling is all about. In other words, people run into content, they go ahead and make all their judgments, right, wrong, or indifferent. They decide they like stuff, and they decide they like you, and then they, reach out to you, and then they're on a Zoom thing, or maybe at Starbucks, or if you do in-person stuff. I don't do a lot of that, but just because I don't have time. But they're there with you. But see, you're not an intruder anymore, right? See how this works? No, Jim, there's not a way to do that. Jim wants to know, is there a way to automate this whole process so I don't have to do the sales presentations myself? Yeah, get your business up to this is I'm not being flippant here. I am not being flippant, Jim. These are real numbers. Get your business up to revenue somewhere between $1 million and $2 million a year, and then you can have salespeople do it for you. But until then, you are the salesperson. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's just the God's honest truth. So cool. Let's go through the rest of these slides, and then I'm still open to questions. Yeah, but that's just not going to work for this stuff too well. Right. Martin, thank you so much. Martin's got the whole title for that book by Robert Cialdini. Persuasion, a revolutionary way to influence and persuade. It's exactly that. It's a cool book. So let's go through these slides, and I'm going to walk you through the sales letters for the upsells. Look, I'm not going to read you the whole thing. I just want to point out some stuff because I've had a few questions about this, and then we'll wrap it up. You're a great group, by the way. I'm really enjoying this. I hope you're enjoying this and hope you're getting a lot out of it. So now think about this. This is beautiful because so you use this content marketing service to market yourself, and you're attracting people that need marketing in the same way. And so all you're doing is just selling the same type of thing to them. So it's very understandable to them. But another thing that's beautiful about this is it leads very naturally into monthly recurring income. Because, I mean, if you're doing this stuff and it's working, which it will work, we've done this for years. If you're doing this stuff and it's working for a client, they're seeing results. They're getting people finding them through LinkedIn. They're getting people reaching out to them. They're making sales. Why in God's name would they want to quit paying you to do this? Okay. So another beautiful thing is this leads very, very naturally into recurring income. And it leads very naturally into upselling stuff. I had a question about press releases earlier. I am going to answer that question, but it leads very, very naturally into upselling them more stuff because it's all dependent on what you have access to, where your strengths are. But once you have a client, then you become a trusted advisor ethically, and you really should be thinking about how can you help that person build their business. I have personally been responsible on more than one occasion of helping companies build their business like triple their revenues in less than a year. So you can do that too. Okay, it's very important stuff. Let's recap, and then we'll just go online and look at a couple of things. There are businesses out there, tens of millions of them globally, who need more business. Okay, use a simple content marketing system to sell them a simple content marketing system. Do y'all understand that pattern? That is so incredibly important. Use a simple content marketing system to sell them a simple content marketing system. They see the results and they're going to want more. And that's what this is all about. It's really not going to take long because, again, we're building recurring income. It's not going to take long before you've got plenty of clients and you're making plenty of money, and then your initial building of the business can slow down, and really what you're doing is you're just sort of managing what you have. I think we might be done with the slides. Indeed we are. Hold on, Matthew. I saw that. I'm going to get to that. I'm currently clicking like a madman to see if I can get out of this stupid thing. Let's go here. Let me roll through this real fast, okay? I mean, this is the what we call the front end product, the original product, LinkedIn Consultant Empire, and it's all about how to do what I'm telling you to. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but basically what you get is you get the system plus a really cool plugin, and what our plugin does is it does a lot of your branding for you, specifically what it does, and you can go to this sales letter right here. Matter of fact, I'll take this for those of you who haven't bought it yet, and I'll pop it into the chat, and you can just click on that and take a look at it. You can go to the sales letter, and you can actually see somewhere along here the, whoops. I have a video here somewhere. When you run a GoToWebinar, you got like 40 million little boxes about stuff, you know, with stuff on it. Here we go. Yes. Take a look at that video. That video will show you how the plugin actually works. Okay. A couple of things about the plugin that we've noticed. It's working like gangbusters. It posts a weekly blog post on your blog, and all of these posts are about LinkedIn. The post has a copyright safe picture that comes with it. We have noticed for some people who have lower end hosting, quite frankly, I was just talking to my developer about this before the webinar. We've noticed that some people have lower end hosting, like cheap, you know, Bluehost or somebody like that, that it's having a little trouble. The hosting is having, the text that the plugin is posting is included in the plugin, but the pictures are being drawn from our business's Amazon server. And it seems that some of the lower end hostings are having a little trouble with that. So we do have a text only version available for those of you who have cheap hosting. I don't know any other way of putting it. So you don't have to upgrade your hosting. You might just want to opt for the text only version. And we're going to be pushing out the text only. Right now, the plugin that you have does not have the text only option, but we are pushing out an update probably tomorrow that will have the text only option. So if you're having a little trouble with this, I've had a couple of support tickets about this, not many, but if you're having that issue, that I'm pretty sure is the issue on that, okay? That's the only thing. I'm just trying to be totally upfront about everything and transparent. That's the only thing I think you need to know there. Everybody here can go look at the sales letter if you haven't bought it yet. It's going to be for sale at this price through Monday night, at which point the price is going to approximately double. Now, there are two upsells to this. One is right here, and you'll have to click this. That's me, by the way, in case you don't know what I look like. But anyway, you'll have to click this in order. If you look at this on Chrome, you'll have to click this to play it, because Chrome has decided in their infinite internet nanny state wisdom that they don't like auto-playing videos, but that's fine. Click that and I'll explain to you what it's all about. But this comes with, in my yachting clothes, yeah, I was actually sitting at Starbucks. I was not yachting. But this is my favorite Starbucks. And yes, I did have a truck come by at that time. But anyway, so you'll see this, and basically what we've got here, and I want to point out a couple of things. Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I think that's stupid. Nathan, let me just address what Nathan just said. I meant to say that. Thank you so much. Nathan says, once you set up the text-only version, would you please also send us the images? Yes, we're going to have the images available for you in a separate file. So yeah, we will have that. I was talking to my developer about that. I don't know if we already have the images available as a download. If not, we will. Detail, Nathan, what I'm saying is, if you log in a day or two and get within WordPress, it should just push out the update to you. You have to accept the update and then it updates itself. But if you do that, and then you go into the members area and say, where are those images again? And they're not there, please hit us up in support. It is literally that we forgot to put a link to you about that. Okay, I'm just saying we try really hard, but we are nowhere near perfect. So feel free to remind us. This comes with a theme. I really wanted a theme that, okay, I've got my own sort of prejudices about themes because I'm fundamentally a salesperson. I know you can really buy, I mean, you see all these beautiful themes and they're really cool and they do all this stuff. From a marketing point of view, they absolutely suck because all they're doing is just drawing attention to the theme. You know, the person looking at the theme online is saying, oh man, that's a really beautiful theme. Wonder how they did those pictures. Look at that slider thing. That has nothing to do with selling anything. So when we developed this theme, I asked my guy to tone down on the theme and tone up on yes, Lenny, we will have a replay, and tone up on making sure that the marketing comes through. Okay, so the theme is it's mobile responsive. Okay, I mean, if you go to this page, you can click right here and see it. Okay, matter of fact, let's see if this will. I don't know why that's doing that. There's the theme. Okay, which you can't see the fact that it's responsive because we're talking on a computer. But if you will go there, and matter of fact, let's do this too so y'all can look at everything. Let me pop that into the chat for you also. You can take a look at that at the same time. But if you go there and look on your phones, you will see that the theme is mobile responsive. Okay, so we got a theme. We have 25 copyright safe banners for LinkedIn, so that would be this kind of stuff that goes across the top, okay? And you can put whatever you want to on the banner. I personally do very little stuff. I mean, for stuff like that, I got people that work with me now that do that. But if I didn't, I would go to Fiverr, and you could get somebody to make you something that would actually look better than this on Fiverr for, well, $5, $10, okay? Yeah. You can put your own header image in there. Absolutely, Richard. That's what I was really trying inelegantly to say. Go have your own header banner created. You know, maybe you want like a picture of you or something like that with some other stuff. Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely do that. Yeah. The theme's got a lot of cool stuff. It has, you can change the colors of the theme. I've forgotten what this is called. It's called the customizer. Okay, it has its own customizer section inside. So there's an amazing amount of stuff you can do with this theme. Okay. Again, I don't tend to do stuff like that just because I'm a salesperson. Messaging. This is yeah. So something I've been doing recently, which is getting business by doing LinkedIn audits for people, okay? Just suggesting to people that, well, you know, I mean, and you can do this so you're not going to just do this right off the bat for somebody that you don't know, but somebody that you're talking to, blah, blah, blah. It's a cool thing to do as you bring them into your world. Say, well, look, yeah, I know you're interested in marketing on LinkedIn. Why don't we do this? We can do a quick audit for you, and I'll show you where your weaknesses are. That's a cool thing to do because, one, it establishes you as an expert, and I've forgotten who it was who asked me about the expert thing. I apologize. I'm seeing like 40 million names here. But that establishes you as an expert, but also, hint, hint, it establishes things that you need to sell them later on, okay? So this is designed to do that. Notice all this stuff is written by a salesperson, i.e. me. Okay, so this isn't just an audit for the sake of doing an audit. This is an audit for the sake of setting yourself up to sell stuff in the future. So we got that. Messaging. Messaging, when you do it right on LinkedIn, is really easy, but it's kind of like there's one easy way to do it, and there are like 40 million ways to screw it up. So, and you know, a lot of you guys have been buying stuff from me over the past couple of years, understand how to message on LinkedIn. Your average person doesn't, or your average LinkedIn user doesn't. This will straighten you out about that. Sales presentation and PowerPoint slides right here. And this, it is a secret. I'm not going to show it to you because when I started doing this is a new upgraded, not text-based I will give you a little hint. It's based on PowerPoints and videos. This is a new upgraded content marketing system, and it's going to be really, really easy for you to do. And I have complete instructions how for you to do this, and you will be able to create an iteration of this, like everything that you need to create in about 15 minutes. It's amazingly effective. It's amazingly effective for a bunch of reasons, not the least of which is you're really just feeding into what Microsoft and LinkedIn want the LinkedIn newsfeed to look like. You're giving them what they like. And furthermore, you're giving people who are looking at your content really what they're looking for, okay? Really what they're looking for. So I was just so, I'd been experimenting with a lot of things. It's just like all experiments. Most stuff doesn't work. Every now and then you find something that works. This worked like gangbusters. I will say I love this. So just summary, you get all this. Right now today, this is only at that price, okay? Again, you wait till after Monday, that price is going to approximately double. I had somebody ask me about coaching. I don't do one-on-one coaching. I thought about bringing that back, and honest to God, I'm just one guy. I mean, I got people that work with me. Yeah, Matthew, I got you on that. I got people that work with me, and so I can do a lot more than just one guy, but I still don't really have time for coaching. Let's pull this up for you. Actually, Matthew, I'll get it for you in a sec, okay? Yeah, I got you. But anyway, if you want to go big with this, okay? So this is like this is my webinar-based coaching. If you want to go big with this and you want to take me up on this next thing, there are only 2 upsells. Okay, I don't upsell the daylights out of you because I know you get tired of looking at that. But this is my coaching, which is webinar-based coaching. Now, I did this one a little different. All right, I try to include stuff in my more expensive coaching, and right now this is not expensive, guys. This is $67 right now. Again, the price is going to approximately double come Tuesday. But I noticed, and this is always true, it's been true forever. When I was in San Antonio last weekend, I was talking to people, it was true with them, that the big thing that stops so many of you isn't the technical stuff, and it's not all the I don't know how to upload them. Jesus Christ, you can go to Fiverr and find people to do all this stuff for you. I mean, for $50 you can get yourself in business. So that can't be the reason why it's not working. There's just one reason why this stuff does not work for people, just one. And that is the fact that, I know this is going to hurt, and I'm trying to be loving about it, you do not know how to sell. I'm sorry, you just don't know how to sell. And selling done right, look, I'm not saying you need to become whatever his name is, Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. I'm pretty sure he was a little unethical anyway. But I mean, it's not like you need to become God's gift to selling. What I think you need is a level of competency, just competency. Because a bunch of stuff happens. 1, you don't get all nervous when you're talking to somebody. 2, they don't get all nervous because you got nervous. But 3, and here's the big one. Here's the really big one. If you have a level of just sort of workaday competency at selling, then you're going to prospect. But what's going to happen psychologically? Back when I did do coaching, it was like every freaking person I talked to had this problem. God bless them. But if you don't have that level of competency, you're going to psychologically figure out how to torpedo yourself. Somebody tell me I'm wrong, or somebody tell me I'm right. I mean, am I right? I know I'm right. I'm right about this. I mean, you're going to sabotage if you think, well, if I do all that prospecting that Lee's talking about, if I build out my account, if I'm messaging people, what am I going to do when somebody wants to meet me at Starbucks, or some business person wants me to come over to their office, or they want to do a Zoom consultation with me? Zoom, yeah, which is my preferred way of doing this now. What am I going to do? And so then what you do is you figure out how not to get, I mean, psychologically, as screwed up as this is exactly what happens to everybody. You will figure out how to not get yourself in that extremely uncomfortable position, which means your business is never going to work, ever. Unless you can competently sell. I'm not talking about Wolf of Wall Street level stuff, if that even is a level. I mean, he ran a boiler room. That's a whole different thing. But I'm, just everyday selling, okay, acting like a professional. What do you say next? I've got a pattern in my head about what to do. If you can't do that, it's not going to work. And the main reason it's not going to work is you are inadvertently going to screw it up. And so I'd like to, if you want to, I would love for you to buy this coaching, because I'm going to straighten you out. You're going to walk away from this with a work a day, I now feel good about myself level of selling. Okay, level of being able to sell. So that when you get your, Joe, thank you so much. Joe says sold. I'm upgrading, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Look, I never tell people what to do, but frankly, everybody that I'm talking to who hadn't bought this needs to buy this. Seriously. Or this is going to sound really harsh, or else you need to just go do something besides offline marketing. Because offline marketing, and this goes back to a comment somebody made earlier, like, can I do all this and somebody else do the selling for me? Yeah, when your business gets up over about $1 million revenue a year. But offline marketing is fundamentally a sales business. That's the huge difference between it and online marketing, like running traffic to all this stuff, right? So you need this. You don't have to get it, but you're going to, now some of you already know how to sell. I got that. You're fine. You don't need it. Or maybe you want to know how I sell, okay? Because I've got this down to a science too. But you need this. And this, I decided to call this series, which is starts on the 16th, the deal closer, because I'm just going to show you how to do it. And you're going to walk away thinking, well, damn, I know how to do it. I'm good now. Now you can go out and do the prospecting and do all this stuff, and your business is going to work fine. $67 if you buy this today or tomorrow.